Good afternoon or good morning, depending on what place you are in the world. Hopefully we're here in the beautiful Miami, United States of America. So thank you all for joining us here today. We're going to be talking about leases, memo to lease, and everything else. My name is Eddie San Roman, and I will be doing the class for you today. I hope I do a good job, and I hope you get something out of it. Our goal here at First Service is always for you guys to get something out of it and to enhance your income possibilities. Leases are a thing right now. You can do a lease and make $2,000–$3,000 on commission, which in many cases before you used to get that on a sale. So some people shy away from leases because honestly, it's just as much work as doing a rental, as doing a sale. It's just quicker, and that's the beauty of doing a lease. So for Ruth and Magnolia and everybody else, I hope that you get something out of this. And please ask questions. There's a question box, and Honey's working with me on the question box, so she'll be answering or looking at those questions, and I'm looking also. But I'm hoping she'll interject if there's a question there that I'm missing or something that I didn't cover. I thank you all for joining us here today. So let me get going. I've got here the form simplicity. I mean, I'm not going to go into a form simplicity class. I just simply want to go and tell you that I created this rental. I put my mom's house because this actually was my mom's house, or my mom's house that she's leasing. And so I created and I put some of the documents that we need all here, and we'll go through these documents. But before we do that, I wanted to also cover with you, and I was trying to do this at a point where we had more people in here. We have 12 people. That's not bad. So I wanted to cover something really important, which is the shortage of inventory that's out there. So I hate this camera this way because it looks like I'm looking down, but I'm really not looking down, but I really am. So the shortage of inventory that's out there. So yesterday or 3 days ago, an agent was in here with me, and we were talking about what can they do to find inventory. So I said, well, if you have a specific buyer and you have a specific area that you're looking for, why don't you go to Zillow and do a for sale by owner search? Okay. So he said, they have them on there? I said, yes. So Zillow has a for sale by owner area. Then you take that list of everyone in that zip code that you're looking for and go knock on the door. And when you knock on the door, tell them you have a buyer and tell them that you would like to get their listing so that you can sell it. So he was never introduced to this segment of it. And we role played. We talked about what he should do, what he should say, what not to say, right? You don't want to make any promises that you can't keep. And at the end of the day, today that gentleman, 3 days ago, today that gentleman is putting a listing in the MLS, which I'm sure he's calling Eddie already. Okay, for sale by owner on Zillow, went out to, like he said, he took him 9 properties, and this person, he convinced them to give him the listing. So all I'm saying to everyone is there is tremendous opportunity out there for those that want to grab the opportunities, and for those that do not want to just sit around and wait for the opportunities that come to them. You need to go out and grab the opportunities that are out there. And for sale by owners is still an opportunity. But you can mail, you can call, you can try emails, you can try anything, door hangers. Nothing is as effective as knocking on the door. And like I've told many times, many people about prospecting, you're not born a prospector. You have to become one. And to become one means you have to fail. And failing is good. Failing is part of the equation that you have to do to become better at prospecting. So my challenge, and this is a leasing class, right? But my challenge to all of you today is go into Zillow, do a for sale by owner search, and go to one property and knock on the door and say, hi, my name is Galo Garcia. My name is Day. My name is Yvonne. Let me see who else is on here so I can just say all the names that are on here. My name is Magnolia. My name is Ruth. My name is Sandra Guzmer. And I want to sell your home. Okay? If you need to get a refresher, you're more than glad to call me. You can also get the listing presentation book and follow along with that. Okay? But this is all about making the effort. So I implore all of you to try that today. I had to tell you because I mean, I'm really astonished that this agent in 3 days got a listing just by me telling him, do this. So I needed to tell you, because I think that everybody on this call wants to learn and everybody on this call wants to make money in this industry. And we're sitting around here trying to please buyers by showing them properties and listing agents cutting us out. So let's bypass listing agents. Let's us become the listing agents. You'll see how rewarding it is at the very end. All right, honey, that was my monologue. Como dice Tucker, that was my monologue. And now to the substance of what we're here for today. We're going to be talking about leases and contract to lease. Okay, so there are two types of documents that are really the most important documents on this. It's the contract to lease that you see right here, and you can see it, right, honey, in the screen, and the residential lease. Okay, so the contract to lease, I want you to think of it as your contract. This is what you're going to fill out with a potential lessee before to present to a lessor, okay, to the owner. You're going to present to him the contract to lease. Then after you have the contract to lease signed, you now go and prepare the lease, because that basically tells you how to prepare the lease. Okay, so I'm going to open up the contract to lease and we're going to go through it, you know. So I know a lot of you have been going to classes, and I know James is very detailed, and so am I, but not to maybe to his extreme. So if I go too fast or I miss something or something that you have a question on, please ask the question. Don't hesitate. You know, this is hopefully the last class we do via GoToWebinar. We're going to go to Zoom next month, and we're going to be doing live, and we're going to be doing this type of presentation. So that way we can be more interactive with you about questions, ideas, you know, cafecitos, different things that we can do together. We had a magnificent class from Christy Denny's from the board. I thank everybody that put that together, our staff and everybody else, but it was fantastic. We had 9 or 10 people here. We had almost 17 people on Zoom. I mean, just an enormous class. I didn't get to see the class because I was working on a project that I had to finish, but I hope you got a lot out of that class too. All right, so we got the contract to lease. This is not a lease. I think that's pretty, you know, I've already said that, but I want to just, a lease should be fine before, a lease needs to be signed. This is not a lease, okay? So then we're going to talk about the prospective landlord's names and the tenants' names, okay? You want to put all your tenants that are going to live on the property or be responsible for the lease on here, okay? These are not short-term rentals, so this isn't an Airbnb or anything of that nature. These are full 12-month leases that we're working on here, okay? They agree to execute the lease no later on, so let's just say that for the sake of this presentation, they're going to move in April 1st, right? So I'm going to say that we're going to do this before April 25th, okay? Because they're going to be moving in on April 1st. All right? When do you have to do the execution of the lease? You can do it right away. It doesn't matter, because the lease is going to dictate when you're going to move in, okay? So then with the intention of entering lease has paid, and then what is going to be the deposit? Very good question on leases, right? So normally right now people are taking 3 months deposit. In some cases they're taking 4 months deposits. All right. No matter how many months you take on deposits, the only money that can be touched by a realtor is the first month, right? So the security deposits and the last months have to be held in trust or be held by the owner. So really, you got to make sure they're at least on this initial deposit you're collecting your first month. So how much is the rental amount for, honey?
Well, you have there 2,600.
All right, so it's 2,600. Thank you. So that's what we're going to get in deposit. Okay, so that's going to be what we're going to be paying a month. Okay, but we want to collect that because at least I know I can get my commission out of that. So the deposit holder is going to be First Service Realty. Okay, so we do have an escrow account that can hold all the deposits. The property address, and I'm just making stuff up here as I go along. I don't want to start thinking so much where I actually start putting right information. Okay. The property will be furnished or unfurnished. If the property is going to be furnished, they want you to attach an inventory. Now, if you're the representing the tenant, you may not have an inventory. Okay, but when you showed him the property, you might have taken pictures with your camera of the inventory. So you may want to create an inventory. Specifically, those are all things that you talk about with the tenant while you're walking and you look what's in the MLS. But if the MLS says fully furnished, you would assume that everything that's there when you show the property is going to stay. So take a picture and then you would attach it here. For the sake of this one, we're going to say it's unfurnished. Okay. Right here is where it says you can add people that are going to occupy the property. Okay. So in the case of my mother, she had a keeper, you know, someone that was taking care of her. So you would put her name here. So while Adriana Perez is not responsible for this lease, has nothing to do with any monetary contribution to the lease, she is going to live the property. So you have to put her name here. Everyone so far so good? Okay, the lease will begin on. We have a question?
No.
Okay. So 2,600, let's just say we're going to do first, last, and security. So if anyone wants to give me that number, what it is. Honey, you're from Canada. You should be smart. Come on.
What? What do you need?
What's 2,600 times 3?
2,600 times 3, 7,800.
7,800. You see, I knew Canadians are smart people, man. All right.
Ay, Dios mío.
First month's rent, 2,600. Okay. And here should be the day that the document is going to be signed, March 25th. So if you're going to sign that lease, you know, it's got to be due there. Okay. Advance rent 4, none. Last month's rent, 2,600. And again, you could put a bunch of dates there that could work. So my mother had a pet. So they charged her $200 pet security. For the association, no, this is just for the owner. Okay, so then this fills out this number right here. See it? See it, honey? So you really don't even need to know the number. You could be Cuban and you can still fill this out, not Canadian. What are you gonna do? All right, does anybody have any questions at this time? This is pretty simple, straightforward. I think I'm on number 5 here. Okay. The paragraph 2 deposit, this one right here. You see that? The first 2,600 that we say that's already in escrow is going to be credited as first month's rent. Always do it this way. Okay? That way you can use that deposit to pay yourself your commission. Okay? Now this one gets tricky. Now you have to take 2,600 and multiply it times 12. Now what do you got?
31,200.
Any questions there? So we got the 31.2, which is the total lease payments. Okay? And that's why Gaton, Yvonne, Magnolia, Ruth, Sandra, that's why renting is a waste of money. You took $31,000 and you lowered someone's mortgage amount, principal amount, okay? And you've let them gain appreciation and you've taken that 31 and thrown it out the door. That's why owning real estate is the most beautiful thing in the world. Okay? Pets are permitted because, okay, husband, 58, small, size, 5, 8. That's a description of the pet that's going to live in the property.
Pretty accurate. There you go.
Yeah, it's good.
It's
All right,
okay.
smoking is prohibited or permitted? Normally, I'm used to putting prohibited, but you know, that's up to the tenant, right? If the tenant tells you he smokes, tell him he should say permitted. He should ask for permission, okay? Because later on, that's where all the battles come with the security deposits and the last month, and the lady goes in and goes, oh my God, calor. Oh, the smell, the smoke. Oh no. How am I going to clean this? All right. So now we're going to go to the next page. Any questions on page 1? I can't believe you guys don't have a question, but maybe I can. Okay, we're good. Utilities. Who's going to pay for the utilities? So it says tenant will pay for all utilities, right? Except what? This is a long-standing argument I have with people that I property manage properties for. And I always say to them, look, honey, what is the only utility in Florida that can be lienable, that will attach to your property as a lien?
I think your electrical bill?
No,
No?
no. I'm sorry I did that to you. I shouldn't have asked you that, because that's something that maybe a realtor would know, but some people don't even know. It's Miami-Dade water and sewer.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Okay.
That's the second one on my
So when
mind.
I figure out with a landlord what I'm going to rent a property for, I always include the water as going to stay under my name. And then I cap the water monthly. I say you can use you can use $50 of water, $75 of water. The rest comes from you. Okay? So now you know the water bill is going to get paid, and you're not going to have a lien on your property when the person that lives your property leaves the hose on for 3 weeks and the bill is $2,000. Very young in my age, I got burned by that. So I rent everything paying the water myself. Okay? They can owe $1 million to FP&L, it doesn't attach to you. They can owe the cable company. They can owe anybody. But whatever they owe to Miami-Dade, if they don't pay it, it attaches to your property. It does not go with them. Okay? Food for thought of Miami-Dade. Landlord will be responsible for maintenance and repair except for, and you could put there AC. I know the lease has a lot more graphical stuff in it, but you know, landlord's going to be responsible for what? Except for what? So if you know the tenant was going to pay the grass cuts, you know, or you could just say none, and let's see what the landlord says, right? Normally in the MLS, it's going to show you what they're going to pay and what they want to pay and what are the responsibilities of the tenant. Okay? Do we need association approval? Again, every property is different. You're trying to rent inside, you know, a condo, even some townhouses with HOAs, you need HOA approval. Just because it's not a condo doesn't mean you don't need approval. There are HOAs that require approvals. Okay? How many of you have driven around a community, okay, and you see a single family house with 12 cars in front of it? I have. So let me tell you what that is. That is a guy that rented that house and now rents all the rooms out to different people. That is the nightmare of a landlord. And that is what you're trying to prevent by doing these documents correctly. You know, when you say who's going to live the property and who's going to do what, okay? So you can hold them accountable. So association approval, we'll say that the tenant will pay for a non-refundable application fee. It's going to be $100, and make an application for buy. Well, if it's going to be March, so you know you got to apply somewhere in March. I just put April 30th because this thing's not letting me, but there it is. Okay. If I'm the landlord, or I represent the landlord, I like to have Zoom interviews with the tenant before I agree to this. Right? I'm just telling you, that's what's happening right now. That's what people are doing right now. So don't be surprised when they say, well, the owner wants to have a Zoom meeting with the tenant before they sign. Because if I'm having a Zoom meeting and Honey is my prospective tenant, she looks like a very decent, very well-rounded individual, que está loca, pero she's there, she looks good, you know, but you want to have this interaction. So when I did my mother's house, they interviewed me because I signed for my mother. I didn't have a problem with it. You know, the realtor was sort of like, oh, I know it's you, but I said, no, I don't have a problem with it. The owner was a very nice young lady. This was her first rental property. And now it's been 2 years and she's been great with us and we've been great with her. But that's what you want to do. Okay. Next, additional terms. And here you might say, landlord will pay for $50 monthly of Miami-Dade water. Tenant will pay in the rent any overage. Okay? That could be an additional term that you want to put on there. I might have spelled something wrong. Background checks. Again, you want to let everyone know you're doing a background check. Service member, very important if the person is a member of the military, as they have special rights. Okay? And the landlord must provide a denial to the tenant or a reason for the denial. It could be as simple as you have too many cars, there's going to be too many people occupying the property. The reason I'm denying you is because I got a better offer. Those are all legitimate reasons for a denial. A non-legitimate reason for a denial is because I don't like the color of your skin. That's a problem, a big problem. Okay? Those are things you do not want to do. All right? Because you're Hispanic. That's another bad reason. So I always tell, when I used to teach at the college and I used to teach real estate, I would always tell people, if you're not going to rent to a Hispanic, then you might as well move out of Miami, because the Hispanics are like, you know, cockroaches. We're everywhere. So, all right, let's go down to failure to perform. If the tenant fails to perform on the premises of this contract, the deposit should be paid by tenant, may be retained. Right? So this is a legal binding contract. So if they give the $2,600 and then they don't they don't sign the lease, they've broken their performance. So that deposit could be at risk. And the ultimate word is could, right? Because I don't know in today's world, because you know, you honk at somebody and they pull out a 38 on you. So I don't know if you want to try to take somebody's $2,600 unless you've done a lot, you know. But I want to, again, you can't live in fear. If we live in fear, then we might as well not live. Okay? The brokers would go here, the prospective tenants. Okay? And we're almost getting to the last page on this. We're almost there.
So Eddie, while you're typing that in, just to remind the agents that, like you said, this is a legal binding. So if for whatever reason after this is executed and it falls apart, you do have to get a release and cancellation of contract to lease.
Right. So I'll tell you, I'll ad lib on that a little bit, just real quick. Whenever money goes into escrow, you need a release and cancellation to get it out. That's it. You won't get it out. We won't release it without something, a writing, an email saying it's okay to release the money, I'm the owner and I don't really want to make a claim on it, we have to have something to release the escrow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So Edia Matos, Pepe and Macho Realty. Now we go down here, and that's her favorite realtor, Pepe Macho. ¿Verdad, Edia? And now we go down here. Yo sé que ella se está riendo. So now we start filling the addresses, and you're done with this. Very important that you realize you have to put the initials of everybody that's signing in every page. All right? Any questions on this?
No questions so far. Wait, we got
Well,
one.
there is a question about the commission.
Okay.
You could put the commission right here if you wanted to, right?
Okay, so you saw the question already? Okay.
Yeah, I saw it.
Okay.
Got it?
Got
So
it.
there you go. Ahí lo puedes poner, Ruth. You know, or you could put as per MLS, right? Because you get paid as the MLS. So lo que diga el MLS es lo que te van a pagar. I hope that answers that question, Ruth. All right. So now you've got your contract. It's all signed. All right. We're going to save it. And we're going to get out of here. And we're going to open up the single family lease. Okay. Right here. Now, the first one is about a non-lawyer disclosure. So let me just, I think I need to give you this information because es importante que you understand what these leases are. These are leases written by attorneys from the Florida associations of the bar. And these are leases that really you can't change, okay? And since you're not a lawyer, these are the only leases you can fill out. So that's why whenever there's a commercial lease involved, it has to be done by a lawyer, okay? So the law says that we can do these, but you have to disclose to these people that you are not a lawyer. So here's what you would say that Edia Matos, she is not a lawyer and may not give me legal advice about this lease. I can tell you what you're signing, but I'm not giving you legal advice. And then you just fill it all out. Again, Edia Matos. And if you go like that and you do control copy, then you can just do this, you can do that, you can do that. Okay? I cannot read English or I can't read English. You have to check one of these off and then you have to sign it. Okay? And then this notice was read to me by Edia Matos in Spanish or in English, in French. It's not letting me fill it out right now. It's because you have to print them or you have to e-sign. And then you fill that out. Okay? So, that's one of the caveats about these leases. They're only good for 1 year. No, pero Eduardo, van a rentar for 2 years. Then you would put a clause in here that says that this lease is renewable for a second year at the same terms and that the tenant and landlord will enter into a new lease for the second year. Okay? All right, let's get going. The party, Cynthia Castro, the owner of the property, and the address, right? Whatever the address is. Or her address, or her mailing address, or the property address. And name and address of owner, so it could be any address. Okay? Eduardo y Maria San Román, who they're leasing the property to. The landlord's information and the tenant's information. The property that's being rented together with what? Following furniture and appliances. List all furniture and appliances. If none, write none in the lease of property. Okay? So here's where you would say refrigerator, washer and dryer, microwave, garage opener, pool pump. I like to be super detailed of what's staying on the property. All right? Then the premise shall be occupied by Jose and Leonel San Roman and Adriana Perez. The reason my mom and dad's name goes there is because they're not signing the lease. I'm signing the lease. I'm responsible. It's my lease, but my mother, my father, and her housekeeper will be there. Any questions so far before we go into the terms? You can attach the printout of the MLS. I'm sorry, Ruth, because Honey no me está ayudando with the questions. So yo las estoy mirando.
I answered her question.
You can attach the MLS, Honey. I mean, Ruth. Yes. Yeah, no big deal. But you're not going to attach the MLS to the lease, right? You can attach the MLS to the contract. But that might be an overkill. You know, we really don't have a lot of disputes on commissions on leases. So we have some disputes on commissions on sales, but really rarely have I had a dispute about a commission, because I always go back to the MLS. Whatever that MLS says is what they got to pay me. All right. So we'll go to the rent. The tenant shall pay the total rent of $33,000, whatever that amount was. The rent shall be paid in monthly installments of $27.50 each first of the month. Okay. It gives you an option to pay it weekly, and it gives you an option to pay it all in one. So if I give the landlord a check for $33,000, I've paid the whole year worth of rent. Okay. Tenant shall to pay taxes. Here would be none. Okay. I know some of you might be asking yourself, well, when would you pay taxes on a rental, residential rental? If the rental's less than 6 months, taxes are involved. And that's when it becomes a real problem. And that's why the counties are against some Airbnbs, and it's a problem because you have to have a tax ID number, and you have to deposit the tax, and it's sales tax. You become a business. Okay? But we won't get into that because that's really going to blow everybody's brains. It's really difficult to deal with. If rent is paid in installments, the total payments will be $27.50. Hold on, because I think they're trying to tell me what am I going to eat for lunch. All right. All rent payments shall be payable to Cynthia Castro, and then her address should be here. If left blank, to landlord at landlord's address. Okay, so I left it blank because I'm sending it to the address above, which is her house. In her case, she wanted to pay through Zelle. And thank God my wife's into spending, and she knows Zelle pretty well. So we were able to do that. I had to really take a second thought. Here, if the tenancy starts on a day other than the first day of the month, you can prorate the rent so that the rents are always due on the first. That's optional. Okay? So if they moved in on, what did I say? This was April 1st, right? Yeah. So let's say they moved in from there, that you could actually prorate this. And whatever the amount is, I'm just going to say $320. Okay? And the date. Okay? So now the $320 would be due on top of the $2,700 because you prorated the rent. And then on May, the rent's only going to be the $2,700. Any questions on that? It's not confusing. It's only confusing if you let it confuse you, as Confucius always said. And the worst part about it is you don't do it, and then you don't make any money. So you got to get confused. Important. All right. If tenant makes a rent payment, a bad check, then she added a bad check fee of $150. Okay? So if you give her a bad check, whatever. And then you can also say here that to pay all future payments by cashier's check or in cash. You know, most of my tenants pay me in cash because they don't want to put the money in el banco para no pagar taxes. All right, money prior due to occupancy. Again, we're back to that same sheet. Okay. And this is funny because this is the second year renewal that I did with them. I did it real fast, so I did sort of forgot to fill in some stuff. But she raised the rent $100, but the last month and the security stayed the same. And I put here previous lease. And then that fills into right here. All right, we keep going. We're getting there. We're moving along here. This one's a little bit longer, page-wise. All right, late fees. I put 75 if left blank 4%. There was a Hector Mapatia was doing a rental and they wanted to charge a late fee of $500. There's a usury law. You can only charge rent. I think it can't exceed X amount of dollars. I forgot now exactly what it is. I think I know everything, but sometimes my brain goes the Biden way. So I don't remember exactly how much it is, but you cannot exceed a certain amount of late payments. 3% or 4%, or I think it's 5% of the total rent. You can't exceed. And so Hector called me and goes, "Wait, they want to charge me. They want to charge this person, $400 in late fee. Yo le dije, dile que that's against the law." I even went into the Landlord Tenant Act and I highlighted it and I sent it to Hector. And then the other realtor's like, "Oh, I don't care." I said, "Well, you can't do that. You're going to get yourself sued. We're going to get in trouble. You can't do that." They finally agreed not to do it. And the other brokers didn't even know. He's like, "Oh, I do it all the time." Can't do that. Okay. Pet and smoking. Okay. Again, a 10-pound dog. She has a little meanie they call the dog, so you can imagine how little it is. So, and then no smoking. Yeah. The notices, very important. You would say Cynthia Castro and where the information is going to go. So let's say if you're the agent and you're managing the property, you could do that, right? Okay. Utilities. Basically, it comes over. Water. Okay. Then here's the maintenance. Again, pretty self-explanatory. Who's going to pay for what? Does anybody have any questions on any of the items that are there listed? I'll be glad to try to ad lib to it if not.
No questions so far.
All right. Any problems with maintenance, this is where they would be. Again, this is repetitive. So you're just moving this stuff over. Okay. Never want to let a lease be assigned. Trust me. So it's non-assignable. And then here's where you want to show that what are you giving them? One garage door opener, one mailbox key, and 2 sets of keys to the dwelling. And if there's a homeowner association, the tenant will be provided with 2 keys to the pool area, let's say. I know we're having fun right now because you guys are all going into Zillow to pull out the for sale by owners. All right, lead-based paint. I always get asked, if there's a if you do the lead-based paint on the lease, do you have to do it on the other form? The answer is no. But you could. Nothing wrong with it. Okay? But you do have to give the pamphlet, which is already part of our package here. And I'll show you the pamphlet now. Okay? So remember, any house built before 78, you have to do this lead-based disclosure. Okay? Then a lot of signatures, commissions. This is where this is covered. Tenant's personal property, landlord, early termination. Let's cover that. Well, let's cover the commissions, right? So again, you would just put here, as per MLS, the name of the brokerage and the real estate license. Let's say Ruth real estate license is 0233127. Okay. So number 29. Tenant must initial in this box for the following provision to apply. By signing this rental agreement, the tenant agrees to that upon surrender, abandonment, or recovery of possession of the dwelling unit due to the death of the last remaining tenant as provided by Chapter 83, the landlord shall not be liable for any storage or disposition of the tenant's personal property. If I'm a landlord, I love that. And I normally make the tenant sign that. And I just say, you're not here anyway. You understand what that is, right, honey? It's pretty self-explanatory. My mother and my father are living in this property, even though they're not, but they're occupying the property. If they both pass away and I don't go and get the stuff out of the house, the landlord has the right to throw everything out.
Basura. Goodwill.
Or keep it. So if this isn't signed that way, then she has to do the provisions of a personal property eviction, and she has to store for a certain amount of months the personal property. All right. Landlord signature. More information on who filled this out. Initials everywhere. Okay. So I did an early termination, which means if my mother and father pass away and I want to terminate this lease, all I got to do is pay her $5,300. I figured I would add that up plus the funeral cost. I'll be 20 grand into it. But it's better than having to pay the whole lease, right? For an empty house. I mean, I'm laughing, but it's no laughing matter. It's a reality when you're housing elderly folks in their high 80s. Okay. I like the clause because, you know, I explain it to people that way. I mean, if it's a young couple, I might just do this, and I never want to let you out. I'm not going to release you. But let me explain to you all why I like that clause. Let's say it is a young couple, and you give them the ability to get out of the lease. They're not going to destroy your house by by leaving in the middle of the night. You're going to make some money. Okay? As a landlord, this is the right way to go. Okay? People get married. Me and Honey got married. Now me and Honey are living in this rental. 3 months into our marriage, I hate Honey and she hates me. So Honey moves out.
That's right.
And now, or I move out. And now Honey's there by herself living in the house. And she can't pay the rent. You need to give them a way out of a situation like that. Okay? All right. So how I said that whole thing with a straight face. I like it. I'm getting better. All right. Now here's the Florida Residential Tenant Landlord Act. Okay, and it gives you all the different things that sort of I've been telling you. Some of it, like the termination by a service member, right down here, and what can happen. And I think also here the late payments, what can be charged, what can't be charged. Everything is here. Okay. And so you got to initial every page of this has to be initialed. Okay. I'm trying to find where I found the late thing. All right, well, it's in there somewhere. I guess I could do a
I think
search.
you just passed it. I think you passed it. Yeah.
You think I passed it? Yeah, it's in there
I
somewhere.
think so, but yeah.
Mira quién llegó.
Just wanted to,
Dr.
listening. I've been listening
Dr.
very
J.
attentively. And
Huh?
I've been listening very attentively. It's been a very, very good class, good flow. I just wanted to let you know about the late fee. It can't exceed more than 5% of the monthly rent in the state of Florida. That's all I wanted to say.
I knew it was something like that because I looked it up, and I know Hector Mapatia, they were trying to charge him like 12, 15%, una locura.
Right.
All right, let's keep going. Thank you, James. Like always, you're a gentleman and a scholar, and I'm sure everybody here is very happy to know that because it's sort of important.
Yeah.
So here, as you can see, we have other forms that would have to be used. Y se no fue. Like Liberace. He comes in, he goes out. He goes in, he goes out. All right. So this is a form very dear to Honey because it helps you and it helps her and it helps all the support staff process the stuff. But here are all the mandatory documents that we need for a lease. Okay? If you use this as your guide, you can't go wrong. You've got the lease and the Landlord Tenant Act fully executed. You have the contract to lease. You have an additional brokerage fee clause added to the contract to lease, right? Which is what Ruth asked me, but I just wrote it into the contract to lease. Or Ruth adds the MLS, same thing. Sunbiz, if landlord or the tenant is a corporation. An MLS printed out in tax roll. Lead-based paint. Rental application, if any. Escrow deposit if we're holding any. Copies of deposits and an escrow letter if any. Okay, very, very important that we fill this out with as much information as we can. Okay, helps us do everything faster. All right. Any questions on this? Either I'm doing a great job explaining everything or everybody in this call is very, very smart.
I have Magnolia has her hand raised. I think Magnolia has a question. Magnolia, can you write it in the question box or in the chat if you have a question?
I tried to you're self-muted if you want to unmute yourself.
I don't know if she's able to do, I don't know if they can do that.
Okay, well, if you have a question, Magnolia, there's a question box, you can write it there, okay? Or if
Eddie,
you're in the chat.
I don't know if you want to mention, I think this is something important because I come across this sometimes when we're processing files, when you're doing a lease, to make sure that you're verifying that the people on the tax roll are the people on the lease, because we've gotten sometimes leases that names don't match And not that long ago, we had one where there was somebody in, there was one of the owners did not agree with renting out the property.
Right. So there's
but we need
different
to make
scenarios,
sure.
and that's a fantastic point. So let me tell you, that's why we require the tax rolls. Okay. So here's what happens. Okay. Empty house. These guys will go take these empty houses and they'll put an open sign on it, one of those Mickey Mouse open signs. And they'll say to you, "Quieres rentar la casa? You want to rent the house? All right, I'll rent it to you for $1,000. I'm just using weird numbers. Go ahead and give me the $3,000 cash deposit." He gives them a receipt, gives them a lease, and walks away. Now you have a tenant with a lease that's fraud, and this happens all the time. It's fraud. So us as realtors, that's one of the reasons we tell people you want to rent with a realtor, because we protect you against that happening. You want to let us be responsible for making sure that people are who they say they are. Okay? So the criminals actually make it worthwhile, help us bring business our way. Because it happens all the time. All the time, trust me. People come back from somewhere and they move and they go to the house and there's people living there, fully furnished house. They've moved in totally. And they say, "What are you doing here?" "Oh no, we rented the house from the owner." "I am the owner. You didn't rent from me." And they show them a lease.
Yeah.
So that's why we want to make sure that the tax roll matches and everything matches. So all you really got to do is, if you're not sure, is let us guide you to make sure that we're all doing the right thing so that we don't get ourselves into an error and omission insurance, which is why we pay that $100 for the errors and omission insurance for these kind of issues, those kind of mistakes, those kind of problems, because they happen. So a realtor puts a house in the MLS and puts a for rent sign in front of it. Some guy goes on a Friday, even though in today's world it's not really happening because houses are renting quicker than anything. But when they weren't renting and the guy poses as the owner and the realtor and takes the deposit, rents the house, the people move in, now there's a big squabble. And that's what errors and omission is all about. Okay. Next thing we're going to cover real quick is there's the cancellation, obviously, for the contract to lease. Like Honey had mentioned before. Okay, here it is. Okay. So there is a form just for that. And then last but not least, I want you to see this. I know there's a lead-based paint, like the same one that's in the lease. But then I also wanted you to see that this is the pamphlet. And it's 20 pages. And this has to be given to people on a house that's before 1978. All right. Maybe I went too fast. Maybe I didn't cover enough. I hope I covered enough that you guys, yes.
Just really quick, if you can just cover the commission escrow disbursement, because
Oh, sure.
you have some things that you guys need to know about that, especially when we're holding escrow and you're scheduling these walkthroughs.
I actually got myself out of for simplicity, but let me put myself back in because I think I need to show them the form.
Yeah.
To really explain it. So I'll go back in real quick. Hold on. Here we go. So escrow disbursement. Very confusing for a lot of people. Even for Honey.
I'm mad if I'm confused about that one.
Let me tell you, I'm confused. I get confused with it. Okay. I think this isn't the one.
That's
yes,
fine.
it is.
Go to, I think it's their commission escrow disbursement right there.
There it is. Okay. Very good point. Here's where we go. This is a lease. the agent's name, the landlord's name, the buyer's name. They turned in the first deposit and the amount. Second deposit turned in. Additional deposit, none. Total deposits, $7,800. Okay. The only amount of money that we can touch is this right here, the $2,600. So you could say, we're gonna do, I want to check for $1,300 for first service. I want to check to Pepe Macho Realty for $1,300. And then the overage, right, the $5,200 to Cynthia Castro, which is the landlord, no relationship to Fidel Castro.
I think because you're in your mom's package, you're using a form that's not updated. The new one is just like this, but we're asking that you please put in the address of Pepe, you know, whatever, Pepe Macho Realty and Cynthia Castro.
Okay,
so the new
so
form is going to have an area.
This is old. Remember, this is a year old, almost, or 2 years old,
exactly.
actually.
But that's the only difference.
But here's another important thing. Eduardo, they don't want to give the house to the people till we give them the check. That's a question you should ask the other realtor when you finalize the deal. You know, when I mean finalize is when you're working and you've got the memo to lease, the contract done. Because what you don't want to do is wait till 2 hours before you have to go over to get the escrow money, right? So you want to know when you need to check by. So this, remember the people were moving in April 1st, but you were going to do something March 25th. So you could put there March 25th, okay? And you're going to deliver it or pick it up at the office or mail it to, okay? But you got to let us know ahead of time what you want to do with the money, okay? Because most brokers, and I don't agree with this, most brokers tell you, no, if you don't bring me the check, I'm not giving you the keys. No, but the money's in escrow. See, no, I don't care. We want the check. Okay? It's been more than once that I've had to make a phone call, or Edia or James or anybody's made a phone call to say, hey, we have the money. It's Saturday. I cannot do a check right now. Please give the key to this tenant. No, let me talk to your broker. And I have to call the owner of the company and go, hey, what's going on? Look, it's my agent's fault because she didn't ask ahead of time. And it's your agent's fault for not telling her ahead of time that you guys wouldn't do this. So that's what you want to avoid. Okay? I know the form says 48 hours. We can normally do it in 24. Marilu's really fast. I'm here. You know, I mean, it's not a matter of the timing. It's a matter of not going crazy.
Knowing, yeah, just knowing.
Right? So let's say that Ling Ming Jing is in Aventura and Ling Ming Jing is doing this rental. And then she calls me at Friday at 4 o'clock that she needs the check. How am I going to get her the check on Friday at 4 o'clock to the Aventura office? Right? So that's why it's really important that you stay ahead of the game on these rentals and ask those questions. Ask, well, when it's time to do the disbursement, you know, are you going to need a check at the time that you give me the keys? Because I need to ask my office for the check. Okay. Another thing you can do is you can take the first month rent and put it to First Service Realty. And when the tenant is going to give you the $5,200, make it out to the landlord or make it out to the other broker and take that check with you. That's another way you could work this. Okay?
And don't get too creative because some people get creative.
That's
with
okay.
Who we can give the money to.
Yeah, well, you got to be careful, right? So you're not going to give the money, you're not going to give the $5,200, so they give you a signed lease and they give you the keys to the property. And there's another thing that has to be done, which I'm glad I didn't just cancel. I don't want to leave. Yes, I want to leave there. There's a walkthrough that should be done. Okay? This is another form that you need to do a walkthrough on the property. So when you're there with the tenant and he's going to get the key, you make him sign this form. Okay? So agents get creative with the form where they just write on it, everything is good. I don't have a problem with that. You know, because I know at least you presented the form to the tenant. He says everything is good. I'm happy with that. It's when we don't get this form and then there's a problem. All right, and then the last thing I want to show you is we do have a rental application form. I think we went to a much, we went to a very more cleaner and smaller form. So here it is right here. Okay. Some people ask me, well, should we do this form when we present the contract to lease? And my answer is, I think I would. First of all, you get all the information from the tenant. Secondly, you have a much stronger contract that you're presenting. There is no doubt that this is a serious tenant. Here you go. If you're already having to explain and fill out the contract to lease, while you're filling that out, they could be filling this out. No big deal. No, pero yo no trabajo. I don't work. You know, I don't have a bank account. Well, these are all questions that later on are going to kill your deal. So you're going to be continuing to do more and then at the end not do the deal. HOA. Some HOAs require a credit report, an Equifax report. Oh, mi crédito, malísimo. Very bad credit, very bad credit.
Red flags.
You might as well disclose all that ahead of time. Oh, yeah, look, his credit score is 210 because, you know, he had a problem, you know. His wife left him, he stopped paying everything. I mean, there are explanations, you know. So, but you need to disclose that and make sure you understand what are the things that hold up rentals. No job, no bank, no credit. But Eduardo, how can you tell me that? Most people that rent don't buy because they have bad credit. I tell that to a landlord. Pops, people that are renting from you is because they can't buy. So please don't tell me that you're not renting to this guy because he has 2 late payments to Burdines. Oh, I dated myself. Jesus Christ. To
Burdines.
No, I'm going to date you even more. To Richards.
No sé.
Richards was, you know, it's like saying Pan Am Airlines or National Airlines. Yeah. So please, that's why people rent. References. There are still people that actually call the references. Okay. So make sure le explica a la gente to put people there that are not going to say, esa gente son malos. I would not rent to them. Right? All right. So I hope I gave you a little fun with this class, and I hope that you guys have at least gotten to the point where you think we know what we're doing. This is all rentals, sales, prospecting is all about failure. You will never make money in this business unless you're willing to fail and try. Sitting at the edge of the abyss will not get you there. You have to jump in and you have to work hard. I challenge each and every one of you that is on this call, Yvonne, Lillian, Magnolia, Ruth, Sandra, I beg you today with my life, Day, Gallo, Gaton, I beg you, go to one for sale by owner today, please. Even if you just stand there and go, Your house is beautiful. At least you experience getting rejected. And someone to say, I don't want to pay a commission. Start. That's a start. Okay? That's a start. You have to do it. I thank James for his insight, Adia for being on this call, Honey Walsh, and the rest of you. I thank you for being part of my family, my kids, my wife, Gucci, you know, all the purse companies, the shoe companies. Thank you all for being part of this family. And I hope you guys will do a lot of rentals, because rentals are good. And we're doing a lot of rentals. As a company, our rentals have increased almost 70%. Because and since there is no inventory, people are renting, people are, you know, moving around, people are scared of the economy, 10% inflation. You know, people are just worried about everything in the world. The Ukraine situation now is not good, you know. So we have to understand that all those evils get into your brain. I want you to go like this, and I want you to go and get me a for sale by owner, knock on the door and go, hi, I'm Eddie San Roman from First Service Realty. I got this list out of Zillow. I have a buyer for your house. Would you be willing to list with me so I can sell your house? No, I don't want to pay a commission. Well, what about if I can show you how you can list with me and I can cover the commission? Because we don't even know houses have appreciated so high. Let me show you that. Would you mind? Okay, come on in. You're halfway there. The next thing is take the listing agreement and take it out. Have it with you already, a blank one, and put it on the table and say, oh, here, by the way, this is the listing agreement. This is what you're going to be signing to put the house to sale for me. I didn't know if you want to review it or you want me to fill it out first. No, but you're just going to tell me how much I can sell my house for. I know, but I like to stay ahead because I know you're going to put your house for sale with me. I love this house. Look at this. I love this house. We're going to sell this house like this. Okay. I used to get 15 to 20 listings a month. And 90% of them I would get through the phone because I was so young that people would think, where's your dad, you know? And then as I got more confident, I started going out. Knocking on doors for me was I would tell my wife, we were driving, we've had a couple drinks, I see a for sale by owner, like, oye, watch this, pull into the driveway, me bajo. And there was no laptops back then. This was this was all paperwork. And I would get the listing. It's all about relationships. It's all about people skills. It's all about trying to make the contact. Thank you all for coming. I know you've all stayed and been attentive. I thank you for being part of my family. I wish I could transfer all my energy, my knowledge, and my will for you to do well right into you. Right now it's going. It all went into you. There it goes. It's all in you now right now. So Ruth, montate en el carro in Doral and get me a listing in Doral. Go get me a listing. Okay? Don't wait. Let's get it going. Thank you all very much. Have a great day. And I appreciate you being part of the family again. Bye, honey.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.